Hey guys, I just want to go a little more in depth over my Itslearning page so you're a little more familiar with kind of how it all works together. So on my Itslearning page, on the left-hand side here, this is where you'll see your assignment every day if for a bridge. So every single day you come in, you'll see your assignment here. So there'll be a warm-up and there'll be a link to that warm-up and it will bring you kind of a reading sheet for the warm-up. Okay, so generally the warm-ups will kind of be, it'll be like a PDF file and you'll kind of see the warm-up and the various questions that you'll have on it. And then some days they'll kind of be reading with the warm-up on one side and then the questions on the other side. Now you can't type into this sheet. What you'll do instead is there'll be a place for you to answer the questions. I'll go over that in a sec. But for warm-up, there'll be a link. If that link doesn't work, use my backup link. So we'll say phone version and we'll give another link. Even if you're not on a phone, this will work for you as well. So if this doesn't work on your computer, use the backup link. It should work. If you want to hear me read off the warm-up, then you click there and you'll be able to hear me read off the warm-up. For the where you answer the questions, you're going to answer the questions here. So where it says warm-up/notes questions, you're going to answer the questions here. Okay, so when you're doing the warm-up, okay, so like what I was showing you earlier of what the warm-up kind of looks like. All right, so you're reading for the warm-up and you're like, okay, so I need to answer question number 1. So I need to answer question number 1, like who do you hear your culture from? All right, so then you then click on the link that brings you the answer sheet. And the answer sheet will look like this. We'll have the questions and you answer your questions on there. All right, so you answer your question. Once you get done with the warm-up and answering the questions for the warm-up, you will have 3 other questions from the notes. How the notes work is that it's going to be a PowerPoint. So you'll see a PowerPoint. And I'll bring one up for example here. So you'll see a PowerPoint like what you kind of see right here down at the bottom of the screen. So you'll see a PowerPoint like that, okay? And when I'm going through the PowerPoint with you, you'll be doing your notes as I go through it. And I'll explain kind of how to do these. But when you're doing your notes for the PowerPoints, I'm going to tell you exactly what to write. So only write down what I tell you that you're supposed to write down. The reason for that is that you can use all your notes on the test. So if you write down what I tell you to write down, those are things that are most likely to be on the test. And yes, you may use your notes on the test. So when you're doing the PowerPoint like so, you can either write it by hand, the notes, and when we get done with the notes at the end of the unit, you can then take a picture with your phone and send it to me, or you may type them. If you're a bridge student and you end up coming back to the classroom, you are going to write your notes out by hand. Okay, so once if you're at home, you're using a computer, obviously. But once you're in the building and you're here, if you choose to come back, then you're gonna write them by hand. So even if you've already typed them out, we'll just print off what you got, and then you're gonna write the rest by hand. All right, so when you're here in the building, I'm not using Chromebooks on the days I'm doing notes. All right, that's not happening. All right, so you're gonna write them by hand. So when we do the notes, like I'll give you kind of an example here. So these notes right here, they're for my unit about Japan. So you would have your unit title. And we're gonna start off with unit 1, but this is for unit 2. I'm just kind of showing an example. So you have, unit 2 Japan. All right, so that's your unit title. Your section title would then be the section. So it says Japan origins. And again, I tell you everything to write down. So I'll tell you, hey, write down Japan origins and then underline. Okay, and then also on the PowerPoint, I can't do it on this one, but when I'm normally doing it, I'll highlight what I want you to write. So I will highlight it. And if I'm ever going too fast, obviously it's going to be in video format. So you just pause it. You can just write it down. So that's kind of how it works. So you have a unit title, you have your section title, and then you're going to have the things that I tell you to write down. Okay, so we might be kind of going along. I'm kind of talking about stuff, and I'm like, all right, make a bullet, write down first emperor. So you make a bullet, and then you write down first emperor. All right, and then your bullets are found up here. Okay, so if you're doing it through Google Drive, your bullets are found right up there. Oops, I need to put it in the right place. There we go. So you got first emperor, and then you have your topics that go along with it. Okay, so I'll tell you make like a 1. Then I'll be like, all right, make a 1. And then after you make a 1, then write down Jimmu was the first emperor. Okay, and it will kind of just go like that. Okay, then you'll have like a 2, 3, so forth. All right, and then eventually you'll have like a new bullet, and then it's a new topic and so forth. Okay, so that's how that kind of works. So each section, you have a different section title for each during PowerPoint. So when the PowerPoint changes, that's when it's a new section, and the unit stays the same until you take the test. Okay, and then we're on to a new unit once we finish off the test for the unit. Right? That's how that kind of works for that. Now you will also have 3 questions about each one of the notes that we do every day. I do that just to make sure that you're actually paying attention to the notes when we're doing them. So when you're doing your warm notes and questions, when you're writing answers in there, there will then be 3 questions about the notes as well. And one question might be simply like, hey, who was the first emperor of Japan? What was his name? And it was Jimmu. So then you write that down. Okay. So that's just kind of to make sure that 1, you're writing notes like you're supposed to be writing them, and 2, you're actually paying attention to what I'm saying. Okay. Obviously, if you try to look up the answers, it's super easy for me to tell if people are just trying to look up the answers instead of actually doing the notes because it's something I didn't even talk about. So it'd be like, hey, who's Jimmu's like nephew? And all of a sudden it's like nephews I never talked about. I only talked about one nephew of like his 6 and some nephew I've never, and you write an answer of some nephew I didn't even talk about. So it's like, okay, well, nah, you obviously didn't listen to me. All right. So that's how that works. Now, when you're doing the notes, there's a video link here that goes to my YouTube page. All right. So I'll have a video link that will go to my YouTube page. Usually on YouTube, it works. If that video link for you on YouTube doesn't work, because sometimes it just doesn't, there'll be a backup link onto my Google Drive account. Okay. So there's a Google Drive account that things will be backed up into. And I also have a video link that goes to my YouTube page. Previous week's assignments. So if you need to see a previous week's or previous day's assignment, you just go over here on the right-hand side. All right. And then you can see our previous weeks and you can kind of click on stuff. They're not linked right now because we haven't done any days of school. So, there's nothing for me to link. Over here on the right-hand side, just has my email address when you can contact me. That's my YouTube page right there. So you can open up my YouTube page and that will show you the videos these are all the videos I did during spring last year, right? So these are all the videos I did for that. Okay. But that's where your videos will be uploaded to. All right. So they're going to be uploaded to my page. It's just my name, Abram Farrar. Bam. There you go. All right. So pretty simple. I also came up with some things called Storytime, Mr. Ferrara. I have a couple of those episodes. There's kind of just me talking about random things. So I have one about the Great Emu War, Mercury, Dairy Dictator, and the Banana Republic. All right. So there's just some extra things. If you want to watch them, you can. If you don't want to, that's fine. You don't have to. And if you're having problems with e-learning, there's what you contact. All right. So that's kind of just a rundown of my Itslearning page. So you kind of know how that works and kind of what it looks like and such.